What's up, everybody? Welcome in to Shout, a Buffalo Bills football podcast. Don't look now, but we are 2 weeks away from the start of training camp, the most exciting time of the year to be a subscriber, a listener, a watcher of Shout, a Buffalo Bills football podcast. We're taking it to the next level here in a couple weeks, Ryan. We cannot wait. I am back from vacation. Nothing else on the books. We're going to be ramping things up over the next 2 weeks, getting everybody ready for the start of training camp. One of the most important training camps of the last couple of seasons, with so many question marks, so many new pieces that are going to be fit in on both sides of the ball. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I see some people in the comments complaining about or commenting on the weather. It's been a hot summer, no matter where you are in the U.S. It feels like, man.
It is so hot, man. We were in NYC walking around, getting our steps in. And I got to tell you, I agree with Gregory, one of our insiders. The humidity is
Yep.
insane. I mean, you walk outside, it's like walking into a sauna. My father-in-law made that comment the other day as we were kind of walking out. We picked a heck of a weekend to kind of go walk around the Big Apple for 3 days, but we had a blast. But it's time to turn our focus to football. And before we get into today's episode, we got a quick one today, 20-25 minutes. We're going to have a longer form podcast on Thursday night when we come to 2-9s inside the dome on Worley Drive. We are so excited to have our second live show there. It is going to be a great night. They got a lot of things going on this weekend, Ryan, or on this Thursday. Draft special all day long, $5 pints of beer. Come on in, get that going. Cluckin' Thursday, $2 off all chicken menu items. You can eat some great food, drink some great beers, come out and hang with us. And we got a little bit of a special guest. I'll talk about that in a moment. How pumped are you for this event on Thursday night?
I'm beyond pumped, man. We had a great time at the Golf Dome, 2-9's Kitchen Bar last time we were there. Another guest, like you mentioned, like you'll announce, and just kind of a fun place to be. And I heard they also have some 716 specials on the horizon.
They do. 716 day is coming up next Tuesday, week from today. They're going to have live music on the patio starting at 5:30, face painting, balloon animals, drink specials. Apparently, Ryan, you can play life-size beer pong at
Oh, yeah.
2-9s next
I
Tuesday.
saw that.
I could see you crushing it in a game of big people beer pong.
Yeah, I've played it before. It's a good time. I saw that they had it there, and I commented, I might have to come out and play sometime. So definitely looking forward to that.
Mafia Life says, miss seeing you guys multiple times a week. Thank you so much. We miss doing it too, recharging the batteries a little bit, but trust me right now, we are kicking it into overdrive. It's going to pick up speed here over the next 2 weeks, and then you're going to see us every day during training camp and beyond. All right, quickly, another note, we're coming to Dorado in Rochester during training camp. More info on that as we get closer to the event. Wingnuts is coming out, so if you're going to be around for training camp, if you want to come in for the day anyway, we are going to be out there. What's the date on that, Ryan? I don't have it in front of me.
Is it on the Saturday that there's no practice, or the Sunday where there is?
It's the Sunday. So that was
August 4th, I believe.
August 4th. So come on out. That is going to be an awesome event. We can't wait. Last time Wingnuts brought 1,600 wings, they ran out. They're bringing more this time. It's going to be a great time. All right, so let's get into this real quick. And so I'm playing a clip, and there's two reasons I'm playing this clip. I don't usually take like talk radio fodder and bring it onto the show. Occasionally we do, right? Like, Nick Wrights of the world, Colin Cowherds of the world. I mean, those are guys that actually, in a roundabout way, I do respect quite a bit, especially Cowherd, who goes back a long way. I think he has a measured approach most of the time. Some of it's clickbaity stuff. He gets things wrong like everybody else, but I do think it comes from a place of like, really good analysis most of the time. Nick Wright, he's a little bit of a troll on the Bills, so we have a little bit of fun with that, but I do think when it comes to the NBA, he's really good. Craig Carmen, I had to think about his name for a second because I could never remember his name. He had the show in New York for a long time with Phil Simms, I believe. Or no, Boober Esiason, excuse me. I always mix those guys up. This dude, every time I see a video clip of him with the Bills, it makes my skin crawl. Like it because I see Bills fans watching these clips and getting all heated and those are the kind of people that come to me and say, man, what do you think about this? What's going on with this? And we got to kind of walk these things back. Let me play this clip and then we'll get into it here in a minute.
Bills suck, and they're gonna suck this year. Their defense is decimated. Who is he throwing the football to? I don't care how big a fan you are. You cannot make an objective argument that on paper, the Buffalo Bills are better than the Jets or the Dolphins. Now, if you tell me that Josh Allen is so good, and he is, that he's going to make some guys better and make guys household names, and it's all good, great. But Aaron Rodgers is a 4-time MVP. Tua had one of the best regular seasons our quarterbacks had in recent memory and has all those weapons there. What I can't figure out is why it's so hard for people to see the truth right now about this version of the Bills. No Diggs, no Davis. You're asking Cook now to have a second year in a row, which is, top 5 running back type of stuff in the NFL, and a decimated defense. Where's Micah Hyde? Right? Where's Jordan Poyer? You cannot make an argument that the Bills are the best team in the East.
Well, we're going to make that argument right now, Ryan. First, your thoughts on a clip like this. First of all, from a fan perspective, if you're a fan sitting at home watching a clip like this, like it's literally being produced to get a rise out of you, to get a click from you. We've talked about this in the past. Like there's no depth to anything that he's saying, and we're going to quickly kind of dive into all these points.
Yeah, like you said, it was to get a reaction out of the Bills Mafia. Now, Matt, who are the 2 specific players that he mentioned, not on the Bills, the quarterbacks in the AFC East, other than Josh Allen?
Tua Tagovailoa and Aaron Rodgers.
Let's start with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, a lot of MVPs, a lot of accolades in his career. He played 1 series last year before he was out for the entire season, and he had his worst season in his career in Green Bay the year before that. 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The Packers, I believe, went 8-9 that year. They didn't look great. He didn't look good. So now you're counting on this guy to come back from a serious injury, and he's a few years removed from productive football. I don't know why Aaron Rodgers is getting all of this glow, I guess, from the national media, because we have not seen him play at a high level. And as for Tua, he did have a very good statistical season, but he always seems to shine the brightest against the worst competition. When he faces a good team, a good defense, a good coach, usually that's when he struggles. There's a reason why he hasn't produced much against the Bills in his career. There's a reason why he hasn't won a playoff game. These are not 2 guys that are even on par with Josh Allen right now. At one time, Aaron Rodgers absolutely was. But I think he's 2 tiers below Josh Allen at this point in time, at least.
100%. And the Aaron Rodgers love fest that's happening, the expectation that he is just going to waltz back in after a year away from football, coming off of an Achilles injury, and all of a sudden just everything is going to be right in the world. Not only that, like you have Garrett Wilson. This is an underappreciated storyline with this team. If things don't go well for him early in the season, if things aren't clicking offensively, all the people that are there are fitting into their roles. Breece Hall's really good running back. I assume that he's going to have a good season. But in the passing game, I think teams can zero in on Garrett Wilson. Mike Williams into the mix. I think you'll like adding him there. But how long is it going to take him to be right? I think there's just too many question marks to just sit here and assume. And oh, by the way, this is an aging player. Aaron Rodgers, how many quarterbacks in history, at this age have been able to sustain that MVP level of play? Very few. Tom Brady is like a once in a generational kind of example to use as a player playing that high level late in his career. Then you talk about Tua. Listen, I think the Miami Dolphins offense has the chance to be really good this season. The problem is we've seen this elite offense over the last 2 years do all the great things that they've done. And what has it meant in December and January? Absolutely nothing. Go back and look at Tua's close to the season last year when the Miami Dolphins finished 2-5 or 2-3 in their final 5 games. He threw 5 touchdown passes in those 5 games, and he threw 4 interceptions in those 5 games, and no 300-yard games in the month of December. That's the biggest problem, or the hurdle, I should say, with the Miami Dolphins, is how do they sustain that September and October success all the way through the season? The Bills are battle tested. There's another part of that I want to kind of dive into here, and that's the defense. The defense has been decimated.
Yeah.
Hasn't really been decimated, Ryan. I mean, this is a team that already showed that it could sustain a blow of losing a high-end player multiple times over the course of Sean McDermott's career and figure out a way to fill in that hole. You think about Micah Hyde a couple years ago. You think about Tre'Davious White in 2021. You think about Tremaine Edmonds last season. 3 high-profile, very important pieces of their defense where the Bills just found answers at other players. I'm on the record. I think that this defensive line, there's a ton of question marks. Von Miller is super hyped to kind of get back. And, I think if you're a Bills fan, you're super excited after we did that Von Miller pod last week. Brian Baldinger put out a clip of some of the plays from the Chiefs game last year that showed you, okay, there might be some reason for hope if you're a Bills fan that Miller can get back to a level close to where he was in 2022, which would be massive. But in terms of the secondary, in terms of the linebacking crew, to me, that is like, no matter who they have back there, because of the guy that's in charge of that defense ultimately, which is Sean McDermott, the Bills have never been bad on defense since he's been here. And I don't think that the assumption should be that all of a sudden, because some aging veterans aren't there anymore and they're moving on in a couple different pieces. Not one mention in that Carmen clip about the fact that when Tre'Davious White went out last year, the Bills were arguably better with Rasul Douglas, getting him over from the Packers, and then Christian Benford, who's an ascending player. That's the piece of it. That's the context that you're missing, where I feel like people are kind of just shouting at stuff, maybe looking at a couple of headlines and then going with a hot take because that's the easy thing to do.
Yeah, and Carton, he mentioned, where's Micah Hyde, where's Jordan Poyer? Well, Micah Hyde has already said he'll come back to Buffalo or play nowhere. So worst case scenario, the safety play isn't great. He'd likely come back to Buffalo. Jordan Poyer, he was still playing at a high level, but he's been dinged up. He's been banged up. He's an older veteran. It was okay to understand why the Bills moved on from him. And, you mentioned a lot of players that they've lost, whether it's free agency or injuries. Just last year alone, in season, the Jacksonville game, you lose Matt Milano, you lose Daquan Jones in game for long periods of time for the remainder of the season. And the Bills adjust, they adapt, they find ways to evolve as a defense. And, he mentioned 2 safeties. We don't know what's to come at that safety position. Is it going to be Cole Bishop, the second-round pick, coming in, playing a high level or playing a big role? Is it going to be some veterans like Mike Edwards, Taylor Rapp coming back for year 2? They have guys there. But that's the beauty of this Bills team. You might think that there's a gaping hole on this defense. Last year, I'll be the first to admit, I had no idea what they were going to do at linebacker opposite Matt Milano based on what we saw at training camp. And lo and behold, they go with Terrell Bernard, and this guy has an unbelievable season. So they develop players. They bring players along. And now you're looking at this 2024 defense. You're expecting Von Miller to bounce back. You're expecting Greg Rousseau to stay healthy and have a great season. AJ Epinesa to build off of what he did. Ed Oliver, same thing. You have a lot of guys up front. And, you wonder about the depth. Same thing in the secondary in terms of you have a really good trio of cornerbacks, then you wonder about who's going to be playing behind them and the safeties. But overall, Sean McDermott at the end of the day has always had this defense ready to play.
We're always ready to play over on the Insider text line. We're going to have that thing loaded with information, analysis, all of our takes from every practice at training camp. And you can sign up to become an insider right now by texting 716-528-6727 or heading over to joinsubtext.com/shoutbuffalobills. $3.99 a month after the free trial. And if you really want to get in and get a feel for what this thing is like, I will give you a 1-month free trial. All you have to do is email me at mparrino@nyup.com. Send me a DM on any social media platform. I owe a couple out there. I know that some people have reached out to me. I will send those along. just getting back from vacation, back in the saddle here. The text line is brought to you by Carrie C. Beyer, attorney with the law offices of Francis M. Litro, located at 237 Main Street in Buffalo, New York. If you or someone you know is seriously injured, give them a call, 716-852-1234, or check out litrolaw.com. So Garden said something else that was something that we really are going to spend so much time on. We already have, and we're going to for the rest of the summer here, and that is, who's Josh Allen going to be throwing the ball to, right? Like, that is the great question that everybody seems to be zeroing in on as the reason why the Bills are going to take this massive step back. And it just occurred to me today, Ryan, thinking about this clip and talking about this in the show today. The last time we were here, where there were so many question marks at that position, was really the 2019 offseason. Do you remember how much questioning there was of the Cole Beasley signing, of the John Brown signing? Like, that offseason was, what are the Bills doing? Who is this second-year quarterback going to be throwing the ball to? Like, this was before Diggs ever entered the equation, like before Josh Allen ever had a season with more touchdowns than interceptions. To me, this feels like almost like the identical kind of vibe around this offense, in like, who is going to step up and be this guy? And I think what we can take from that experience was that the Bills front office, the Bills coaching staff came together and realized, okay, what they had on the roster wasn't working. They needed to bring in a new kind of receiver to adjust to how teams are playing against the Bills, to help surround Josh Allen with talent. And the specific kinds of players they got were smaller, quicker separators, right? Now, that's worked. But what do you have to do in the NFL, Ryan? You have to evolve over time.
Right.
I think that the departure from that, they still have that kind of guy. Like Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, those are the kind of guys that fit that mold. But I think that, the MVS, the Chase Claypool, the Keon Coleman, that's a little bit of a departure from what they've had in the past, but maybe an element that they really felt like they needed to have, because all three of those guys are a little bit different than what Diggs was. And what Diggs was late in the season last year was majorly ineffective.
Absolutely. And Warren Sharp put out a great stat recently about the number of pass plays the Bills made last season, and the fact that they were only able to draw 8 defensive holding and pass interference penalties that entire time. They weren't physical. They weren't attacking the football. They weren't going after the football. So now you bring in a Keon Coleman that's going to play a physical style or physical brand of football. You're going to get a Chase Claypool that's going to play physical style of football, maybe as wide receiver 5 or 6. You change the flavors up, but the one thing that is the same with Josh Allen is he has always made his wide receivers better than what they once were. Cole Beasley had career years here in Buffalo. John Brown, career years. Remember Robert Foster? I was on the Robert Foster hype train after seeing that one season with him in Buffalo. Josh Allen always elevates talent. And there's so many guys now that he can throw to. Curtis Samuel, who's already had a 1,000 total yard season under Joe Brady. Now you're going from, success under Joe Brady when you had Teddy Bridgewater throwing you the football to Josh Allen. That is a significant gap. And Curtis Samuel still had a lot of juice to his game from what I could see in Washington. Obviously what he did in Carolina at one point in his career. Khalil Shakir, he shined last year late in the season. There's no doubt in my mind he's probably going to put up career numbers. You talk about Dalton Kincaid entering year 2. The list goes on and on from top to bottom. There are guys here that are going to elevate their game because they have Josh Allen throwing them the football. So when it comes to receiver, yes, a lot of targets went out that door with Stephon Diggs being traded, Gabe Davis leaving in free agency. But we've seen time and time again that Allen gets the most out of his pass catchers.
I think Shakir and Samuel end up being the top wide receiver producers on this roster, right? I think Keon Coleman's going to find a role as a rookie. Mm-hmm. I think they can find something for MVS in terms of a role in this offense. Mac Hollins is kind of that do everything kind of guy. And then Chase Claypool to me is kind of the wild card there to see what he ends up turning into. But I still think this whole thing is going to revolve around Dalton Kincaid.
A few wild cards too. KJ Hamler from what we saw in the spring. If he can, use his speed effectively this summer and stay healthy, who knows? So they have wild cards. But like you said, at the very top, they have Dalton Kincaid. They have Khalil Shakir. They have Curtis Samuel. They have plenty of guys. They have James Cook, who can catch the ball as well. I know he had some bad drops last year, but they have so many different guys that can catch the ball and hurt opposing defenses that I really think the versatility is going to keep a lot of defenses on their toes.
That was my other favorite part about the clip that we showed at the beginning. James Cook, can we expect him to have another top 5 season? Well, what's changed? The only thing that's changed is he's gotten another offseason to get better as a runner. That I think that he's in a place now where he is the bona fide number one. There's not that vet on the roster. You got Ty Johnson, you got Ray Davis, who's going to come along, probably at a little bit of a slower clip. And what's changed in front of him? Only Mitch Morse. I mean, in terms of run blocking, I think that you can make an argument that maybe they've gotten a little bit better with, slotting in Edwards at left guard, moving Connor McGovern over to center. I think Cyrus Torrence in year 2, that right side with him and Spencer Brown, James Cook has got to be like pumped to be running behind what could be one of the toughest out in space run blocking combos in the league on that side. I mean, Spencer Brown is playing for a contract this year. Cyrus Torrence could be Pro Bowl, all pro kind of caliber in year 2. I think you're really excited about all that. And I'm not expecting James Cook's running numbers to dip off. And if anything, Joe Brady showed what he could do on short notice with this run game. Yeah. I think that the expectation should be heightened for what it could look like with a whole offseason to prepare.
And throw in Aaron Cromer and what he does with his offensive lineman, you anticipate Osiris Torrance to take a big step in year 2. Already had a really impressive rookie season. Name was hardly ever mentioned on broadcast. That's what you want from an O-lineman, especially as a rookie. Like you said, Spencer Brown playing for a contract, but just knowing what we've seen from the growth in this O-line, whether you're talking about the starters or the depth players, you anticipate that unit getting better. And if they can open up more lanes for Cook, yeah, he'll have another top 5 type of season. He'll be in the mix for total yardage at the end of the year as well, high up there on that list. And Ty Johnson and company will benefit too if that unit's blocking better, as will Josh Allen as a passer. If that unit again continues its ascension, which they really should, based on the stability at the coaching position and the success that Cromer and company have had over their careers.
You're watching Shout live on this Tuesday evening. Just back from vacation. We were talking about it at the start. We're going to ratchet this thing way up over the next couple of weeks. We have another show this week live at 2/9. Ryan is making the drive out. We will be there at about 6 o'clock over on Whirly Drive. The Whirly Golf Dome is going to be the place to be Thursday night. They got $5 pints going on and $2 off of all chicken menu items. So come out, have some great food, check out the Golf Dome, maybe bring your clubs. They got these virtual machines where you could it's kind of like Top Golf, where you could play 18 holes, or just get out there and get the big boy out, let her rip. I mean, I was watching Ryan do it last time we were there, and he put on a show. It was a fireworks show.
Yeah, dusted off some clubs the first time in about a decade, and was surprised I even made contact. But yeah, the golf, the programming that they have there on those videos, you can do longest drive, closest to the pin, 100 yards out, 200 yards out. Really cool technology. Bring your clubs. Go on back there after Shout's over and enjoy yourselves.
I predicted the Bills winning 12 games when we did our season preview breakdown. I think, did we both land at 12?
We both did, yeah.
And nothing that's happened this spring, early summer, has made me wane off of that at all. My expectations are still super high for this team. And I think it comes back to one simple thing, Ryan. And, to put the bow on this thing with Carton, he kind of said it. Like, when you have Josh Allen, if you expect him to raise people's games, well, okay, then. He almost said it in the clip. Well, yeah, okay, then. Like, that's what the expectation is when you have an elite quarterback. We saw it with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. When guys have been out, when guys have been dinged out in the past for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow has done it. I think elite quarterbacks raise everybody's game around them. And there's opportunity here for a lot of guys that we talked about in this thing. I don't think Bills fans should lose that energy. Now, maybe things change. Maybe they get off to a slow start. We'll cover all of that. But going into this training camp, I think that, the folks that are bullish on the Bills, rightfully so,
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I don't think the Jets or the Dolphins have done enough to close that gap. Obviously, New England's nowhere close to closing that gap. They're in a youth movement right now. It's going to be a fun division. If Aaron Rodgers looks like the Rodgers of old, which is a big if, then yeah, that'll make it fun for the Jets because they do have a really good defense. The Dolphins are a talented team, but we've seen them put up yards, put up points a lot this year. But like you said, at the end of the season, they generally fall apart. They haven't done anything in the playoffs. I really think that, it's foolish to expect them to take another step forward where you've already had these great receivers, these great pass catchers on this team. You have a ton of speed. I don't know what, if you can eclipse or go above that ceiling that you've already seen there.
All right, that's going to put a bow on this one. Like I said, we will be back on Thursday. Come out and hang or watch right here, YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever you watch the live show. Special guest, the voice of the Bills pregame show on the radio. Nate Geary will be in the house. I think Nate Geary is one of the most down on the Bills in the local media market this offseason. And I want to talk to him at length about that and just get a little bit of a training camp primer. At times, a guy that's been very high on the Bills throughout this run. Seems like that's waned a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe we'll get into it. But Nate's a great guy, and we're excited to chop it up with him. Final thought, Ryan.
Final thought, Bills Mafia, join us on Thursday at 29's Kitchen Bar. We'll have a lot of outings here in the near future as well, between Dorado and another one coming up here in July as well on the 20th, Matt.
Oh, yes. We got to drop that one. I forgot.
Yeah.
July 20th, the Shout podcast is coming to Mafia Con. Our good buddy Del Reed put together this wonderful celebratory event. And on July 20th, you can come out at 1 o'clock. It runs all day, though, I think, right? 10 to 6.
Yeah.
At the time. And we're going to be, our time slot is at 1 o'clock or 1:15. Come out, hang out. We will be there. I got a baseball game in the morning, but we'll be hanging out for a couple hours. So we're super excited about that.
Pumped. Cannot wait, Matt.
All right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you Thursday. Come on out. 2 9s inside the Whirly Golf Dome. Take care.